Everyone is suffering in this material world. Just here. Some problem. It is one problem of many problems that are taking place at the present time all over the world. Somewhere, someone is suffering from death just now. Somewhere else, someone is suffering from birth just now. And in between birth and death, there are so many varied sufferings. Life after life after life, at every moment, everyone is simply suffering. And this material world is basically a miserable place. But within it, the devotees are very fortunate because they know Krishna, who is the reservoir of all pleasure. When Krishna is described as the reservoir of pleasure, it doesn't mean that approaching Krishna we can get such tucha, such insignificant pleasures as those of which are experienced in this material world. But Krishna means the reservoir of unlimited transcendental pleasure. The nature of that pleasure is quite different to the nature of pleasure in this material world. The pleasure of this material world is based upon gratification of the mundane senses, but the happiness of Krishna consciousness is based simply on pleasing Krishna. And the more we try to please Krishna, the more we ourselves become pleased. Yasmin tushte jagat tushta, by satisfying whom all the world can become fully satisfied. So it may be postulated that, well, if this is unlimited, if Krishna's happiness and his power and his opulences are unlimited, and he himself is he cannot even measure, it's so great that he cannot even measure his own quality, then that is insufficiency in him, incompleteness. It could be said that his omniscience and omnipotence are thus compromised by not being able to know the full extent of his own glories, isn't it? God knows everything, but he doesn't know his own glories. That means he doesn't know everything. However, our acharyas have answered this objection, that to not know a rabbit's horn does not compromise one's omniscience or omnipotence.
Rabbit's horn?
Yeah, that's right, a rabbit's horn. A rabbit's horn by its very nature can't be measured. In the case of the rabbit's horn, it can't be measured because it doesn't exist. However, in the case of Krishna's glories, it can't be measured because its limit does not exist. So the limit of the bliss that is present in Krishna is immeasurable. And Krishna is inviting everyone to come and join in this bliss. But most people don't take an interest in it. They're simply unfortunate. Thus they have to suffer. Even there are many what we could call spiritually advanced people. Here in Russia and this part of the world, we find many people who are interested in this term extra sense. They're very interested in reading people's minds. What other kind of things do they do? There used to be one man in England, he came on TV, he would hold a spoon and just look at it and the spoon would bend.
How's the trick?
Well, it's supposed to be by his powers, you know. No, and people would say it's a trick, but then they'd phone up and then he'd say, okay, you take out the spoon in your house and I'll bend that too. And they would say, yes, it's bending in my house too. So he had some extraordinary powers. Not very useful, but extraordinary nevertheless. So many people are interested in these things. Shamanism. We have that in some parts of Russia, it's popular as well. But people think this is very spiritual. So according to some people's definition, it may be. However, in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna recommends Bhaktya Mama Vijanati. I can be understood by bhakti. Even if you bend all the spoons in Russia, either with your hands or with your mind, it won't help you to understand Krishna. Or even if you are very austere, it won't help you to understand Krishna. Some Christian sects, they previously used to recommend severe austerity. I was reading an extract from a book called it was by a Christian saint, Catholic saint. It was described. The book was called like the first steps in sadhana, something like this. Something like this. So in chapter 1, he was describing different methods of self-torture. He was recommending that you should whip yourself with thin ropes. He had a very logical reason for this. Because this only hurts the outside of the body and it doesn't damage the internal organs. So this is a very good method of self-torture, because you only want to hurt yourself, you don't actually want to damage the whole system. So there are various bizarre ideas of God consciousness. Why don't we give a seat to these Mataji's with the babies? But Krishna says, Bhakta mama vijanati, can be understood by devotion. And in the process of devotion, that is described in Shastra, there is Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smanam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam. These are the 7 primary processes for sadhaks or practicing devotees. And then in the advanced or perfectional stage, there is also Sakyam and Nivedana. So Krishna is recommending this process of bhakti, which is very pleasing. There's nothing harsh or very difficult about it. Raja Vidya Raja Muhyam Pavitramidamuttam Pratyakshavagavam Dhamyam Susukam Kartamabhyam. Krishna describes that this knowledge, the knowledge of the process of Krishna consciousness is the king of all knowledge. It is the most secret of all secrets. It is the purest of the pure. And it directly gives us perception of the self by practical realization. It is susukam kartam. It is performed very happily. Not just happily, but very happily. Sukam means happiness and susukam means very happy. Susukam also means, su also means that which is good or proper or auspicious. So this indicates that it is not the kind of happiness that is mundane happiness, so-called happiness which yields grief. But its result is avyaya, it is imperishable. In other words, by performing bhakti, the happiness one gets from that, it does not transform into grief as so-called material happiness does, but increases more and more and more into more and more and more and more happiness. So devotees are very fortunate to have this opportunity to perform devotional service. Other processes of spiritual elevation, they are troublesome. Those who are on the path of impersonal realization, they simply have to accept many troubles, many difficulties. But the process of Krishna consciousness is simply joyful from the very beginning. No whipping of the body, no engaging in severe austerities. Some mild austerities, such as rising early in the morning. That's actually not an austerity, but because we're not used to it, we consider it an austerity. Previously, that was the norm practically throughout the world, that people would rise early in the morning. It's with the coming of electricity, then staying up late at night watching TV and all these things, then people became habituated to rising late. But practically there's no severe austerities in devotional service. It's very pleasing. Just like, you see, offering flowers to Krishna. What could be more pleasing than this? Here is our dear Lord. He has made these beautiful flowers. And He's very pleased when we offer them to Him. And actually Krishna is very pleased if we offer Him flowers. He doesn't ask that you make big, elaborate sacrifices. Krishna says, Pattang pushpam phalang tayam yo me bhakta prayachati tadaham bhakti pahitam ashnami prayatatmanaha. Krishna says, if one offers me with love and devotion a fruit, leaf, flower or water, I will accept it. So how kind is Krishna? He doesn't demand that you offer anything very difficult to attain. Generally, it's very difficult to satisfy someone who has many things. If you give 10 rubles to a beggar, he'll be very happy. If you try to give 10 rubles to a millionaire, he might not even take it. He might say, well, in the time it takes me to get it, I could be making a phone call and making 100,000 rubles. So what can we give to Krishna? We can offer Him our love. which Krishna considers very valuable. Krishna has everything. Everything belongs to Krishna. But Krishna considers, even if a very neophyte devotee offers him a leaf, a flower, fruit or water with just the beginnings of love, Krishna considers this is very valuable. There are many yogis and impersonalists performing severe austerities. These are very difficult to perform, no doubt. But Krishna is not particularly pleased with such people. He doesn't take any pleasure in seeing them do this. He would be much more satisfied if they simply offered Krishna a flower with love. But they don't want to do it. That is their disease. That is why Krishna says, Nasadhyati mang yogo nadharmam sankham udhava, that I cannot be achieved by yoga or strictly following the varnashram principles, nor studying sankhya. Naswadhyayastapasyago yatha bhakti-namorjita. Nor can I be satisfied by studying many Vedic literatures, performing severe austerities or renunciation. These things cannot satisfy me in the same way that the simple practice of devotion to me does. Now yogis, they may be able to perform very severe austerities, such as meditating, sitting in the cold water in the winter. So that is a very difficult feat to perform, no doubt. But it's not particularly pleasing to Krishna. And the yogis, they're also not particularly interested in meditating on Krishna. Now, if we tell the impersonalists and the yogis that you simply offer a flower to Krishna with love, they may not be interested. They'll think, let me do my austerities. I will show what a great yogi I am. They're interested in showing their own might. They're thinking that by my own power I shall become an advanced spiritualist. In other words, they are puffed up. They have false ego. And for all their ascesis, they don't make any tangible progress in spiritual life because they're simply becoming more and more proud. There's a story in the Mahabharata of one young man, young Brahmin boy, who he was trained up by his father in Brahminical activities. And after his father died, he left his mother alone at home and went off and wandered off and became a mendicant. He was very austere. People offered him a lot of respect. So he used to spend most of his time in the forests meditating, and then he would come to the villages and beg a little food like this. So once he was meditating in the forest under a tree, and a bird passed stool on him. So he looked up in anger at that bird, and immediately the bird burned to ashes. He thought, oh, I'm a great yogi. So after some time he went into one village, and he called at the door that, I'm a Brahmin, I've come begging, please give me something. The woman said, oh, just wait there, I'll come back in a few minutes. Oh, what's this? You're not treating me properly. So after a few minutes, the woman came back and he was feeling very angry. And the woman said, just cool down there, young Brahmin boy. I'm not a bird in a tree that you can burn up through your anger. He said, oh, how did you know? He said, yes, I also have mystic power. I didn't get it through austerity like you, but I got it from faithfully serving my husband. That I was in the middle of serving my husband at the time, that's why I didn't deal with you immediately, I didn't serve you immediately. So you've become a great ascetic, and by the power of your austerities you have attained a little yogic power, but you have abandoned your old mother at home. As a result of that, you will have to go to hell. So these are some stories from the Mahabharata. They're on the material platform. They don't actually relate to devotional service. But they show that by performing various austerities or by performing various Vedic processes, such as wife serving a husband, one can attain mystic power. However, they don't in and of themselves award devotion to Krishna, which can be had simply by offering a flower to Krishna. Of course, the devotee always thinks, I want to give more and more and more to Krishna. He doesn't think, well, let me just offer one flower to Krishna. When Krishna says, if one offers me with love and devotion a flower, he immediately thinks, well, let me offer many flowers to Krishna. I remember I joined this movement in 1975 in London. Now, it must have been in 1976 or 1977. For For about a year or so, there was one pujari there at our temple outside of London, Bhaktivedanta Mandir, where there's a big altar, and with the deities of Sri Sri Radha Gokulananda. And every day he used to decorate very nicely with flowers. But on Sunday he made a special, exquisite arrangement, because on Sunday so many guests would come. And although usually the altar would be open at 7:15 in the morning, usually he would open at 9 o'clock or sometimes 9:30 or even 10 o'clock. He had the GBC's permission. And no one complained because he made such a beautiful arrangement. There are still some photos from that time. How he decorated the whole altar with so many flowers and greenery and waterfalls. Simply superb. We could see Krishna in Vrindavan, just like in the groves of Vrindavan. So enchanting. So Krishna says, offer me a flower, but he was thinking, let me make a beautiful arrangement of flowers and greenery and waterfalls and so many things. It was a lot of trouble to do so, no doubt. He would spend much time each week making a different design, and it only lasted one day, and at the end of the day it would all be taken down. So you may say, well, why go to so much trouble? Krishna is satisfied simply with a flower. Why go to so much trouble? That is bhakti. Thinking how to please Krishna. Krishna has made so many nice flowers. Here in Russia and neighboring countries, there also seems to be a lot of, in the general culture, there seems to be a lot of appreciation of flowers. People like flowers very much. So that's nice. Now you just have to teach the people to offer the flowers to Krishna. They're appreciating how nice the flowers are. Now they can appreciate how nice is the creator of all these flowers, and how nice it is to offer these flowers to Krishna. We like to offer flowers maybe when a man comes home from he's living in another town, he brings some flowers for his mother, and we presume they do like that, isn't it? So it is pleasing. The son is pleased to offer flowers to the mother is pleased to receive them. It is an exchange of affection, because the child can never repay the debt to the parent. Even Krishna said that to Devaki and Vasudeva. The child can never repay the debt to the parent. So offering flowers is an expression of appreciation. So similarly, Krishna, he is much greater. He's given us so much more even than our parents. And if we offer flowers to Krishna, then Krishna becomes satisfied, we become satisfied. Patram pushpam phalam tayam. You should offer some water to Krishna. So some Vaishnava acharyas have commented that this water, what kind of water should that be? Well, in deity worship, it's recommended to offer water of Ganga or Yamuna, or any holy water. This area is famous for mineral waters, so you can offer them to Krishna also. But there's one kind of water which Krishna likes to be offered even more than Ganga or Yamuna water. Who can guess what that water is?
Tears of love.
That's right. Yes, very good. Who said that? Who said? Very good. Very intelligent devotee. So if the devotee, of course you can't artificially make tears of love and offer them to Krishna. That won't have the same effect. If you put some chili powder in your eyes, water will come, no doubt. But actual premashru, tears of love, they are produced from the heart, not from the eyes. They manifest through the eyes, but they're produced in the heart. Similarly, anything, kirtan comes from the mouth, but actually real kirtan comes from the heart. So bhakti is pleasing to Krishna because it is heart to heart. He's not very interested in watching people perform all these austerities. He's thinking, what are they doing? What's the point? He's not very impressed by that. But Krishna is a very feelingful person. We've heard that the Russian people are very hearty people. They like to express that by coming together with their friends, drinking, and like telling some jokes and some stories. So that tendency to be hearty is good. The expressing it by coming together with friends and drinking and smoking is not good. But if we come together with our friends, devotees, and chant Hare Krishna with them, and offer our hearts to Krishna. That is the proper expression of our hearty feeling. So in Krishna consciousness, we like to have parties also with all our friends, with our best friend who is Krishna, and all the friends of Krishna. They're all one big family, chanting Hare Krishna together. Just like I'm coming here for the first time. I don't know it, but automatically we can relate with each other. How is that possible? Because our link is via Krishna. If we link together via Krishna, then there is no boundary of race, language, culture, or any such things. Well, language is somewhat of an apparent imposition, but it doesn't prevent the sharing of Krishna consciousness. So Krishna consciousness means Nitya Mahotsav, daily festival. Every day we get together with our friends and enjoy life by chanting Hare Krishna. Either in a small group, maybe just in our apartment with our family members, maybe in a bigger group like a Namhata meeting, and sometimes in bigger meetings just like festival in Vidyamosa. The process of Krishna consciousness is Kevala Ananda Kanda. It is simply blissful. Especially the process given by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nityananda Prabhu is simply joyful. Simply chant Hare Krishna, dance, take prasad, discuss about Krishna. It's very nice. So let us go on with this throughout our lives. And life after life, there's nothing better to be had than this.
There's nothing?
There's nothing better to be had than this. There's nothing beyond this. Hare Krishna. Any questions? Very peaceful baby. She's got her Hindi also. Yeah, please.
If we are chanting to a child, even in his mother's womb, the holy name, will it have impact on his future life?
Definitely. Even you see, the modern scientists, they investigate so many different things. Most of them completely useless. Some things of some usefulness. So they also discovered that the child is influenced by external influences while it's in the womb. They found that women who watch these TV serials while they're pregnant, that the children, they become addicted to it when they're born. So you chant Hare Krishna and then the child will be addicted to chanting Hare Krishna. It's a standard procedure in the traditional Vaishnava Sampradayas that pregnant women, they should attend the satsangs or meeting of devotees and hear the Bhagavatam recited and join in. Join in means not physically, but they should be present and hear the chanting like this. It means they don't start dancing and all this, but they should hear. They should have plenty of exposure to this. The devotees in India, they're very conscious of this. It's very much part of the culture. So you can adopt this culture also. This Vaishnava culture is very valuable for helping us to cultivate Krishna consciousness in our day-to-day activities. Any other question?
Some of our family members may profess different religions. What should be our attitude towards them? Should we just practice ourselves, or should we influence them also?
Well, it will be different in every case. The best thing is if you can bring them into Krishna consciousness. Next best is peaceful coexistence. You have to see how they respond to attempts to bring them into Krishna consciousness. If they resist, then better is not to try to force them, because that will probably make the situation worse. But at least to go on giving them prasad. You have to, like I say, you have to see in every circumstance.
When they ask me, why did you change religion, I reply that I didn't change religion, because it's not religion. But actually, I remain a Muslim. Is it correct? Or
Yes, that's exactly correct. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur used to say that Krishna consciousness is extended Christianity. Islam, what is the meaning of the word Islam?
Submission.
Yes.
What did you say?
Connection.
So that the same thing is taught in Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness is only submission and surrender to Krishna. Prabhupada often used to give the example of going to a higher education institute. Just like someone may be studying in the school in Nautic, but then if he's a very good student, he may go to Moscow to a better educational institute to get higher education. Because the idea is to advance in knowledge. So you go wherever is required to get the higher knowledge. So Prabhupada said that similarly one may be practicing Christianity or Islam or whatever, but if you want to advance in your process of approaching God, if you want to advance, then you have to go, or you have to take up that process which will teach you in a more developed manner. So practically Krishna consciousness gives extended knowledge of God. I mean, there's not much use in getting into arguments with people from different religious backgrounds. But just from our own point of view of understanding, we can understand that actually Islam ultimately also talks of a personal God. In Islam, one of the basic principles is, one of the things they're very much against is idolatry. And we can understand that when, in the beginning of Islam, that Hazrat Muhammad, he was preaching in an atmosphere where there was much idolatry actually, or misrepresentation of worship of different kinds of spirits and very low class deities. But ultimately, God must be a person. Just like it said that Allah spoke to Muhammad. Speaking means he must be a person. Speaking also suggests that he has a mouth. If you pray to him, then he must be a person to hear your prayers and accept your prayers. Yes. So when the personality of God is denied, that means he's not a material person, but it means he's a person of a fully spiritual and transcendental nature. And he's a person, but without the defects of conditioned souls like us. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, there's described a conversation between Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and one Pir. I don't know if that word comes in Arabic, but in Bengali that means like an Islamic, not exactly a priest, but like something like a guru almost. Though they don't allow gurus.
Between Lord Chaitanya.
Between Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Islamic Pir. The word is there in Bengali. Pir, do you use that word? Do you have that word? Pir?
Pir.
You don't have that. There must be another word in your language, but in Bengali it means something like a guru actually. Although in traditional Islam there should be no such thing as a guru, but it's so much part of people's consciousness that Islam in India, especially in Bengal, is dominated by people who are just like gurus. So anyway, it's described that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu discussed with the Pir, and he established on the basis of the Quran that God is a person. He has a bluish form and plays a flute. So this may sound very unusual, but actually when Chaitanya Charitamrita was first published, this was about 1976, we read this and we were quite surprised. But I was in London at the time. One of my godbrothers there was from Turkey.
Oh, he was from Turkey? Or he was in Turkey?
Yeah, well, he's Turkish, but he joined in London. So he could read the Quran in Arabic. Somehow I've been trained in that. So he went back through it again and he found, actually, yes, it's true. He'd never seen it before, but he never appreciated that before. But after getting this clue from Chaitanya Charitamrita, he found it out. So it's there, but it will require a certain kind of blessing to be able to appreciate it and see it there. Just like many people who are expert in Sanskrit read Bhagavad Gita, but they don't all find Krishna there. Even though Krishna is clearly presenting himself in every word of Bhagavad Gita, those who are not imbued with the blessing of Krishna, which comes by the spirit of devotion. They can't see Krishna at all. So obviously if you're coming from different kinds of background, it requires to deal with family members and you have to deal with them very carefully, obviously. People have a very long-standing culture and for many generations, and they're very much attached to it. However, we can tell them that before Islam came to this part of the world, that the Vedic culture was here. Just like you see, all these, we have Dagestan, Turkmenistan, Tajikistan, all this stan is a completely Sanskrit word. Stan means place. And it's been suggested that this Caspian Sea was the place of Kashyap Muni. No doubt this area was a place of rishis and munis. They like the hills. And these mountains are connected geographically with the Himalayas. And practically we see the way the people in this area, how they behave, their culture, their family dealings, it's all, it's the same as Indian culture. Of course there are some deviations also. I mean it's been, in course of time it's been altered. But the basic culture is there. Even in Islam they say not to worship a form, but in Makkah they worship that, what's that called, Kaaba. And everyone does parikrama. People say that and kiss also. So the theory is there that originally this is a Shiva Linga, and Islam gets its power from that. There are various theories. Anyway, we're chanting Hare Krishna. We invite everyone to join in. You can say that if you want to become a better Muslim, chant Hare Krishna. Of course, not everyone will agree, but gradually they may do also. No one thought that people from all these different countries, America and Russia, could chant Hare Krishna. But now they are. So everything is possible by the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu. One excellent quality of Islam, you see that it inculcates a very strong faith in God. So that's good. You understand?
When we study philosophy, we understand that we are not these bodies. But practically in day-to-day life, it's very difficult to realize it and to have this attitude. For example, when someone dies, we still have some feeling and we attach to the bodies. How to practically realize this knowledge.
Many people ask this question, how can we practically realize that we're not the body? So Prabhupada answers this in one purport in the Bhagavad Gita. I can't remember which verse. He says that one can factually realize he's not the body by chanting Hare Krishna. In other words, by following the process of Krishna Bhakti Sadhana, then gradually realization will come. Regarding feeling affection for family members and friends, Prabhupada also in one purport in the Gita, I believe, he says this is natural. However, one should not be overcome by grief. One disciple of mine, Gokul Chandra, he was telling me he visited the burning ghat at Varanasi, which is very famous. Many people, they live in Varanasi, which is one of the sacred cities of India. They go there in their old age, specifically for the purpose of dying. In Gujarat, it's said that you should live in Surat and die in Varanasi, because Surat is a good place for sense gratification. It means Gujarati's idea of sense gratification is good food. Vegetarian. No sausages. So their idea is live happily, enjoy sense gratification, and when you get old, go to Varanasi and die there, and then you'll get liberation. The presiding deity of Varanasi is Lord Shiva, who is a great devotee of Lord Ram. So if anyone dies in Varanasi, at the time of their death, Lord Shiva comes and whispers the name of Ram in their ear, and then they get liberation. So many people go there to die, and the burning ghat is always busy, 24 hours a day. So Gokul Chandra went with one of his friends to get a little realization about the nature of his body. And they were there, so, a few bonfires here and there. So one man was squatting there. Often Bengal people, they sit like this. So he spoke to them, are you from ISKCON? He said, yes. So that's very nice. And my mother was a Gauriya Vaishnava also. That's her there. She was chanting 64 rounds a day before she left this world. And he made an indication. So Gokul Chand was telling me, he said, their attitude towards death is completely different to that in the West. In the West, they'll be crying for 2 or 3 days. And if they have any money, they'll be fighting over who gets the money. But you see, spiritually enlightened people, I mean, it's a common thing. People, they just don't, they don't limit. They took another path. Often people call us to do kirtan. My mother is dying. Please come and do kirtan. No lamentations, just at birth. You see, they're chanting for the child in the womb, and now they're going on again. Time to chant again. And people who have such faith in the holy names, they'll be chanting in between birth and death also. It's just accepted as reality that death is not the end, it's just a transition, that's all. There's nothing actually to lament for. Of course, we often lament the passing of Vaishnavas because we don't get their association, we're bereft of their association. But it's not mundane lamentation. So if we have family attachment, it's a normal thing. But we shouldn't be grossly attached on the mundane platform. We should interact with family members in such a way that they may be benefited in Krishna consciousness. One thing I'm absolutely sure is that Prabhupada is very, very pleased that people in the ex-Soviet Union, Russians and Muslims, they're all becoming Krishna conscious. Prabhupada very much wanted this, so you can get the blessings of Srila Prabhupada. As Prabhupada often used to sign his letters, your ever well-wisher. And Prabhupada is a well-wishing father, grandfather. Prabhupada used to say, talking about his own Guru Maharaj, he used to say that the grandfather is more affectionate than the father. You probably experienced this, that usually your father is quite strict, but the grandfather is very liberal and affectionate. So devotees, they're thinking, we didn't see Prabhupada, but you're getting Prabhupada's blessings more. So you're all very fortunate, being Prabhupada's transcendental family. So try to increase it. Bring more and more people to Krishna consciousness. That's also in Islam, that spirit that we have to spread it, isn't it? So bring that to Krishna consciousness. Our movement is a growing movement. We have to bring more and more. Actually, everyone's already a devotee. Some people know it and some don't. So we'll have Arti, Kirtan, Jai, Hare Krishna.